Welcome back to Endeavor Krav Maga. We just finished up fight class and we were messing around with some stuff today, earlier in our Krav open course and then later on in our fight class. But taking people that don't necessarily have a wrestling background or don't really understand a lot about wrestling and getting them kind of looking to grab legs, looking to go for trips, looking to get low, but also changing levels correctly. Like we're not bending over at the hips and actually changing levels at the knees and keeping the chest up. So we did a really simple drill, right? A lot of people in the Krav Maga world know about shoulder tag, right? Our hands are up and I'm moving in to hit his and block and he's moving in to hit mine. And then there's all these variations of it of I'm trying to touch his head or I'm going down to touch his knees and learning how to change levels. So we kind of, just messing around, we kind of took that into this clinch realm, right? So this whole entire idea of just getting people to look towards the legs. Because a lot of people when they're just learning clinches, in our experience, they're so focused on what's going on up top. Eventually we want to get them comfortable with the idea of changing levels at the knees, reaching for legs, shooting and going low and all that kind of fun stuff. But on a very, very basic primal level, just getting them to look for legs. So we started kind of playing around with the idea of maybe just doing knee tag, right, from here. Now, right out of the gate, a lot of people are just going to reach down and go for the knees. So we kind of do this in tiers and in levels. So the first thing I'm doing is just getting people to reach down and go for the knees, and as much as possible trying to reinforce the idea of I keep my chest up and I change levels at my knees as opposed to reaching my hips back and leaning forward with my legs, right? So we just have them kind of moving back and forth, a little bit of push-pull. I'm changing, reaching for his knees, he's changing, reaching for mine, and I can do that with right arm, left arm, whatever, right? So we're getting them in kind of this just basic idea of, hey, from this position, I can actually change my level and I can get a hold of legs, okay? Then we can take that a little bit of a step further and we start talking about the idea of, well, it's going to be 10 times easier to get a hold of that leg if he can't move it. And how do I get him to not move it? Well, at least for a half a second, if I can create a heavy step, okay, he's not going to move that for at least a half a second, right? So now that he's done that heavy step, boom, it's 10 times easier for me to get to him. So now I'm giving him really kind of a game of learning how to create heavy steps, pushes and pulls, and obviously implementing some tools there. Then, once we get him kind of doing that and working towards these heavy steps and maybe the idea of, yeah, that looks like the obvious leg, but if he pulls that leg back as I'm reaching for it, stepping inside and touching off to the opposite side, right? So again, getting them to create different angles and things like that. We take it a step further. Now, if I have somebody who really has this terrible habit of leaning their head forward, putting their weight all the way onto their toes, bending at the hips and leaning, well now I want to essentially punish them to that and at the same time teach myself to recognize that. So if we're going back and forth and I recognize a lot of that out of him, he's leaning, what I'm going to start doing is, again, essentially looking for snap downs or ideas of kind of shifting his weight off. So he goes to make that reach and I start to pull here, right? So now I'm not necessarily going through this whole wrestling course and teaching them what a snap down is and everything, but I'm allowing them to recognize for him, he doesn't want to put himself in that position. And for me, if I feel that weight coming forward and him off balance, take advantage of it, right? Where I'm snapping down, I can turn out and pull the head. So again, just taking it one more level. And then once we get kind of past that, then it's depending on their knowledge base or their toolbox, allowing them to, again, shoot for legs and shoot for knees, but then just utilizing wrestling, right? Maybe I'm actually getting them up top, pulling through the head. Maybe I am going to actually pluck here, drive, get down low. But without having trying to trouble an issue of, I take you down, we get back up, we do it again. You take me down, we get back up, we do it again. It's just a lot easier and a lot smoother from this point to me. Okay, now we reset. And at least if I'm doing it properly, we're getting them really quickly to kind of look for those positions and do them right? So again, just something we were tinkering around with today. Not finalized, not amazing. Just a really simple concept to introduce those really, really newer people to stand-up wrestling or the idea of takedowns for looking for legs, changing levels, doing it properly, feeling push-pull, and really cool warm-up, really good way to get people excited and dynamic. Play with it, see what you think.